Welcome back everybody to BeamNG.drive, and today we're continuing our crash tests. So we've done crash tests on the small overlap, we've done the rear end crash test, so now we're doing a side impact. So we're going to be doing the this test with the cement block, and yeah, crashing into various vehicles in the side at 70 miles an hour. So let's see what our first vehicle does when it gets hit in the side by a cement block going 70 miles an hour. So we've chosen the Maluch, or however you say it, which is basically a Soviet era kind of car, somewhat inspired by the Fiat 126, I think it is. And yeah, that's not survived very well. The seat has been, well, both front seats have been completely removed. The side has completely crumpled in. We're going to get rid of the crash cart. And we've even managed to roll over, sort of. Let's pull it away so we can check the damage out a bit more. Get it into the light. So yeah, that's a massive fail. Not just because obviously the seats have fallen out, but obviously because the car has completely crumpled in. It's lost its door. Even the front wheel has come off, and the whole chassis has bent. So categorically a failure there. Even though I think the car would still start. Yeah, it does. But it's quite a loud engine, so that's why I turned it off. Right, let's see what... I think a convertible. Let's see what a convertible can do. Let's see what a Legrand convertible can do. Obviously this car is more commonly used in its four-door guise, but obviously you can also get it in a coupe version, and obviously this is convertible. Well, we've lost the seat again. Seats do seem to be very weak today. And we've also lost a front wheel as well. Not even from the side that we hit, weirdly. But yeah, that's obviously another fail, because obviously we've lost the driver's seat. And the passenger seat looks like it's on the verge of going as well. And again, like the Maluch, the chassis has also bent up. We've lost two wheels. Like I said, one from the side that we didn't even hit, weirdly enough. I would have thought the both wheels on the side that we hit would have been the ones that would have been weaker and the ones that have come off, but no, this weirdly one wheel on the side that we didn't even hit came off. Yeah, the chassis is also completely bent. As you can see, the rear is no longer, symmetrical to the front anymore. So yeah, a massive failure on the part of the Legrand there. Right, let's see if we can get in something a little bit more rigid, I suppose. Let's see what a Burnside can do. We won't get in the convertible, we'll get in the coupe version, not the four-door version. We'll save the four doors for later vehicles. If it will load, there we go. Now this should survive better, because it is a far bigger, far heavier car than the previous two. Or maybe not. The body looks like it's about to be ripped off the chassis. Yeah, that's a massive fail as well. The chassis is completely bent away. The bodywork looks like it's going to come away from the rear end, and yeah, it looks like the seats have moved around as well. Well, not so moved around, just completely crushed, with the door now where the wheel was and where the driver would have been. So yeah, that's a massive fail on the part of the Burnside as well. It looks like side impacts are the Achilles heel of a lot of vehicles, which to be honest is the case for vehicles in real life. A lot of cars do fail on their side impacts, or at least they used to. Obviously side impact protection has gotten a lot better in recent years. I don't even know why I was doing that. I do apologise, I completely lost train of thought by talking. But yeah, side impact protection has gotten better, principally because of side airbags and more strengthening that goes on in the doors and the chassis and the like, but there are still plenty of vehicles out there that do fail, especially when it comes into the pole test, which obviously simulates a car sliding into a telegraph pole or a lamp post, which can make the car behave in different ways. So let's see what a more modern car can do in the Roth Alpha. Now this is about the 90s era kind of a car, whereas the previous ones were obviously far older than that. Well, it seems like it's more devastating, but we'll have to take a look to find out. I don't think the engine works anymore. Nope. That's a big casualty with this, but on the whole, maybe. Well, it's a little bit better. Certainly don't have the door quite as much into the steering wheel. Obviously with the Burnside it was about halfway across the steering wheel, whereas here it's only really where your thumb or fingers might be. But yeah, that's still a devastating crash, but at least for everyone on the right hand side it would have been survivable, but probably less so for everyone else. But yeah, the car on the whole looks a lot better as well than the previous two. The chassis isn't completely bent. The back is a little bit more symmetrical to the rear than the previous vehicles, but yeah, still not a win there on the whole, to be honest. Right. See what something a bit bigger from that era can do in the form of a Grand Marshal. We'll go for the standard version, we won't go for the long wheelbase version, because I think that on the whole will probably be a lot weaker, having more bodywork between the engine and the rear. I do try and get it to 70 miles an hour, but it can't be helped if it's a little bit above or a little bit below. And the Grand Marshal seems to have behaved a lot better than the previous vehicles. We have lost a rear wheel, surprisingly enough. The vehicle itself, yeah, that's a lot better than the previous vehicles. The crash cart there behaving weirdly, but yeah, that's a lot better. The seat hasn't moved as much. The steering wheel hasn't obviously got the door in it like the previous ones, or at least the Roth Alpha. And yeah, everyone else will be okay. So yeah, Grand Marshal there a lot stronger, and as you can see by the shape of the chassis, it's barely bent from the back to the front. So yeah, that is a far stronger vehicle there, and yeah, certainly one that I'd rather be in than the previous ones. Right, let's see what something a bit more modern can do in the form of a Bitron. Let's see what a Bitron can do. Now this is based on the Citroen C2, or is it a C1? It's one or the other. But yeah, still, it's basically a small French hatchback. Not necessarily the car you think of being good in terms of a side impact, but who knows, it might surprise us. Or maybe it won't surprise us. Oh, even the fuel tank has gone, which is not helpful. Yeah, that's a massive fail. I wouldn't say it's as bad as the Maluch, but it's really not all that much better, and at least the Maluch didn't burst into flames, so which is, yeah, the real big killer, to be honest. Because if you get knocked out in a crash, then you start inhaling smoke, and that renders you even more inoperable in terms of being able to move around, and then the fire will get you as well. So yeah, that's a massive fail, and as you can see, a lot of the car has broken. The front wheels, the fuel tank, the diffs, the brakes, the engine has taken a fair old whack, and obviously the bodywork is pretty much eviscerated. Right, so let's see what a bigger, more modern car can do. We don't have many medium-sized modern vehicles, to be honest, so I think we'll go for the Cherrier, and we'll go for the standard hatchback. We'll go for the most basic hatchback, and see what that can do in comparison to this. Now, this car has been fairly impressive in terms of other crashes. I remember the small overlap test being massively impressive, so let's see if we can do just as well in terms of a side impact. Well, it doesn't seem to be as impressive as the frontal impacts that we've had with that car. Yeah, that's taken a fair old amount of damage there. The door is in the wheel, and the chair has been quite heavily damaged. The rear is a lot better off, it seems, but yeah, that's taken a lot of damage, a lot more than I was expecting. But clearly this car is a lot more solid in terms of its frontal protection than its side, which again just goes along with what I was saying earlier about a lot of cars proving really rather good in their frontal impacts, but their side impacts far worse. But the chassis hasn't bent too much. As you can see, the front and the rear are pretty much nearly symmetrical. But yeah, that is pretty much a fail in a lot of ways, I think you'll find. So yeah, let's see what a bigger car can do. Let's see what an off-roader can do. We'll do two off-roaders. We'll do the Hopper first, and then we'll do the Roamer. Now the problem with these kind of cars is that they are quite high riding, which in theory means that they might well roll over. So let's see if that's going to be the case. Well, the Hopper hasn't rolled over, but it has been fairly eviscerated there. Yeah, the bodywork is pretty much coming away from the chassis there. Imagine if it got hit any harder, it would have come off. Because look, the bodywork is not even facing in the same direction as the wheels anymore. So that's fairly catastrophic. Inside, well, I'd have to say that's actually better than the Cherrier in some regards. Sure, the seat has taken a fair old whack, but the door isn't in the steering wheel, so the bodywork hasn't really intruded into the interior. But yeah, the Cherrier would be the safer car in a higher speed impact on the side, because I imagine the chassis would have come completely away had it been hit any harder. In fact, let's try that out for an experiment. Let's just go full tilt into the side of this and see what happens. See if the bodywork really will rip away from the chassis. We're not going to go much faster, but should be going fast enough. Let's reload this car. Yeah, that's pretty much separated. I mean, surprisingly, the car still works, but this is practically coming off. Yeah, imagine if we had a wider car, it would have severed it off. But even at a 86 mile an hour top speed, I think that was, it's done fairly well. Yeah, it has. But again, I fear that the bodywork would come away from that car at some point. Especially if we were in a higher riding vehicle, like a lorry or a SUV, or a more high riding SUV. Speaking of which, let's see what this version can do of the Roamer. I don't know why the textures still haven't loaded in for this more facelifted version, which is really rather annoying, especially since the non-texture versions can be a bit more glitchy than the standard textured versions. Let's hope that's not the case though this time. I was going too fast. Didn't realise I was going too fast there, I do apologise. Well, we've lost a spare wheel. But on the whole, that's fairly stable. It's certainly not rolled over like I feared, but the energy has been sent through the car. That's why this passenger door is now open. But inside, yeah, again, the door is in the steering wheel, but the seat hasn't, well, it hasn't taken the most damage that we've seen on this episode so far, but it's certainly not intact. But I feel like being as high riding as we are, the impact would have been lessened, and the chassis has taken minimal amount of damage. Yeah, that's fairly symmetrical. And being a Roma, it's undoubtedly still working. Yep. Lost the exhaust, lost the spare wheel, but that's had the bodywork. That's taken a fairly limited amount of mechanical damage. So yeah, the Roma doing fairly well there. But I would have expected even less damage for such a large car. Right, let's see what a modern off-roader can do. Now, they should do better. It should be the best that we've tested so far. But who knows? That looks fairly positive. The engine's broken, but on the whole that looks fairly okay. Yeah. A lot more convinced about that than the Roma for sure. But it's not perfect. I don't think any car in this game really that is more of a normal road going car is going to be perfect in this kind of test. I think it's just a bit too on the heavy side in terms of impacts. Let's see if there's anything else we can try out. I don't think so, to be honest. I think that's going to be all for today. We'll try out a van, see what this is like. I imagine it'll be fine being a van, but you never know. It is again high riding, so it might well throw up some stability issues, but it should be alright, I think. Obviously I'm doing these tests at far higher speed than they'd be typically done at. I think it's about 40 in America, and it's probably the same for Euro NCAP as well. But plenty cars do spin out on a motorway and can come straight into the side, straight into the line of forward moving traffic while side on. So it's not totally unrealistic, I think. And yeah, that's not done very well either. The seat has moved, the steering wheel is halfway out the door, and yeah, that's fairly catastrophic in terms of the kind of damage it's taken as well. I mean, the chassis hasn't been too much, but all of this bodywork here has just gone completely in. And yeah, if you were having a more passenger orientated version of this van, then yeah, people in the back would suffer quite a lot as well. So yeah, not particularly strong there. Most of these vehicles really aren't. I mean, the passenger door has flown halfway across a good 30-40 feet away from the vehicle, and whatever the hell this is has gone even further. That's the step ladder for the outside. So yeah, no real vehicle today has really gone past without flying colours, with any flying colours, should I say. Yeah, side impacts are a real treacherous kind of impact. I'd much rather take a impact in a car from the front or the rear than I would ever want from the side, because yeah, there's so much less protection on the side. Obviously, like I said, a lot of modern vehicles do have side impact airbags, also ones that come about near your legs, near your thighs and stuff, to protect you from anything lower down. But yeah, even so, that I don't think would help in a 70-mile-an-hour impact, in all honesty. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.